Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? Well, Nintendo can't take them or catch them all. All right, before we jump into this, make sure you like, share, subscribe, notifications, all those good buttons to help keep you up to date with what we love to talk about, video games. All right, let me just whip this article out here. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company monster capture patent rejected may signal problems for their Palworld lawsuit. So, Nintendo has run into another issue during its ongoing legal battle against Pocket Pair's open world survivor game, Palworld. As reported by GamesFray, one of the Nintendo patents related to the case has been rejected by the Japan Patent Office, the JPO, for lacking originality. Back in September of 24, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company officially announced they were filing a patent infringement lawsuit in Japan against Pocket Pair's open world survival game, Palworld. The case involves 3 main patents granted by the JPO, 2 related to monster capture and release, and 1 related to writing characters. These patents were all filed and approved in 2024, but are derived from early Nintendo patents dating from 2021. It seems that Nintendo geared these divisional patents to fight specifically against Palworld's alleged infringements of the originals. Since the case has rumbled on with Nintendo even rewriting a mount-related patent mid-lawsuit and arguing that mods should not count as prior art. However, one patent in this family of monster capture patents that Nintendo filed in 2024 has yet to be approved in October. The JPO pointed out that this patent lacks inventive step, making a non-final decision to reject the application. The office's reasoning for the rejection made reference to older games with similar mechanics that were released even before Nintendo's 2021 priority date, including Ark, Monster Hunter, and Japanese browser game, I'm going to try to say it, Kantai Collection. Ironically, Pocket Pair's Craftopia 2020 and Ninetix, whatever the hell you pronounce that, Pokemon Go 2016 were among the examples of games that were used to argue that the patent lacks originality. Although this non-binding and non-final decision by the Japan Patent Office, JPO, to reject the application will not directly impact the lawsuit, it may still influence it, as noted by GamesFray. This is because the rejected patent, a bunch of numbers, is closely related to the 2 main monster capture patents, those 2 sets of numbers, that are being used against Palworld in this case. Therefore, the JPO's decision could cast doubt on the validity of the monster capture patent involved in the lawsuit, strengthening Pocket Pair's position. It could aid the argument that Palworld is not infringing on Nintendo's copyright. Rather, Palworld's monster capture mechanics are merely building upon decades of similar systems found in older games, made by various developers. As IP consultant Florian Mueller at GamesFray noted, the fact that the patent examiner is now looking at real-world games as opposed to just patent documents and articles considerably ups the ante for Nintendo. All right, so the rest of the article you guys can catch on your own. So I'm going to put this away. Now, let's jump into Pat because he's the most anal retentive and he probably read up a little bit on the legalese of this stuff. So Pat, sorry, anal okay? You don't like retentive. What do you think? Do you think the patent office is doing the right thing by going back and looking at these other games and, the real world things that have happened with these patents prior to Nintendo? Or do you think that Nintendo just hasn't coughed up enough money?
I think that things like this patent that that they filed is just frivolous and junk. It's junk patents, in my opinion, because you're trying to patent a generic mechanic is the way I look at it. Like creature capturing, because the way that I read the patent and the info on it is creature capturing, no matter the device, because they were at first was arguing the device, right? The PAL ball, the Pokeball, and the PAL sphere. And they were just arguing that the capturing of a creature. And I'm like, you can't do that because there's games that have done that. I'm pretty sure before even they did it, right? Capturing creatures of any kind, no matter what. And then I think the other patent was how you ride and mount the creature or something like that. And I'm like, that spells trouble for a lot of games that have riding mechanics of creatures, of summon creatures. I mean, because technically every game, just think of any game out there, like I think it's generic enough that it affects even games like Red Dead Redemption, Ghost of Tsushima. What I was going to say. Because you just summon your horse, right? The horse just isn't around, you whistle and he comes running, right? And, it's just too generic, saying, hey, the way you mount and ride a creature is patented. I'm like, I'm sorry. So, when Native Americans first learned to break horses and use them for their thing, I think they just patented it before you did then, and you can't use it in your video games. I mean, it's so stupid. Like you're saying that mounting and riding a creature is something you can patent, which I don't think is something that should be allowed to be patented. You can, a lot of times, and this is where I struggle sometimes, because I struggle with this, saying that you shouldn't be able to patent a game mechanic, because that just then means that you're the only one who could ever do that, whether you decide to use it or not. Okay. But we allow physical patents for things like that. This person that creates this special type of, we allow people to patent like the way you process beef and process animals and all kinds of things like that. There are patents that protect those processes. But to patent a video game mechanic such as bullet time or whatever, to me just seems so dumb. It would be like, hey, I patent using a gun in a video game. I mean, that just seems almost like what Palworld is doing with the whole, with the Pokemon group. It just is doing here is like, hey, we don't want anybody to use creature capturing or creature riding as a game mechanic because we own that. And I think that is just stupid and asinine. And I hope the other one, because I think the other one, I didn't look up the other patent number that they had, but I thought the other patent number had to do with the way you mount and ride a creature. Because they filed like two of those that were around the same time, was the way that you capturing a creature, not necessarily using the Pokeball, but capturing and summoning creatures, and then summoning and mounting creatures was the other patent. And I'm like, stop. This is just so stupid. Now, me as a normal person would say that Palworld looks a lot like Pokemon, right? I mean, and I mean the creatures look a lot like Pokemon to me. And I'm like, okay, to me, that's probably grounds more than, hey, they're using a capture mechanic, instead of throwing a Pokeball, you have a Pal sphere. You can take liberties with that, right? It's the same concept, same name, but I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever seen a Pokemon with a machine gun or, anything like that. And I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan, so I may be wrong on this aspect, but I don't remember anything where you could turn Pokemon into slave labor. Maybe they had a game like that before. I don't know. But, in Palworld, you basically tell the Pokemon, hey, I need you to crush those grapes to make my wine. I need you to run that forge to make my weapons. I need you to take care of these other ones because this one likes hot. I need you to eat the flames of this hot tub or whatever.
That was a 2012 DS game, Pokey Slave Labor.
I mean, the Pokemon may have had something like a Pokemon farming game or something, but that's why I look at this. Like, basically, they've turned pals into, labor, if you will, because that's really what they are in this game. They are the labor, and you can automate them and do automation and things like that. It's almost like taking a factory working game or a farming game and automating it with creatures that you capture. And you say, okay, this creature's really good at this task, and I'm going to put him here. Are they going to patent that? Creature tasking, that patent. Nobody else can do that, right? So to me, I'm glad that one got shot down, but it was non-binding and non-final, which means they can reapply if they just sure up the mechanics a little bit more and be a little bit more specific. like Nintendo is probably trying intentionally to be very generic and vague so they can encompass the whole thing. And no matter, and if somebody even slightly dips a toe in there, they can sue them, right? So, and and it's funny that they use the Niantic game because that technically is a licensed Pokemon IP. Pokemon Go from Niantic was a licensed version of Pokemon. They use that against Pokemon, which seems kind of weird that they would allow that to be used against there, because if you didn't play Pokemon Go, it was a mobile game that had you walking all over town trying to catch Pokemon and things like that. So,
yep, a lot of kids hit by cars.
A lot of kids in the park and a lot of adults in the park during that whole time. I remember going to the square here in Springfield when they were doing it. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen the square in Springfield this populated with people. It was like elbows to assholes.
Yeah.
And so it's
squares smelled like armpits for 3 days.
Right. And there's just people everywhere downtown with this thing, because there are people set up lures in like the pizza shop or the ice cream shop or whatever. And you're just like, okay, they're hanging out there, popping up lures and catch a Pokemon. Cool. It got people outside. All the parks were always busy, and things like that. But I think that Nintendo have intentionally tried to make it as vague as possible to see what they can get away with. And now that they got caught, or not caught, but they got denied, that patent got denied, they're just like, they'll probably come back with a little bit more. They'll probably ease into a little bit more and be like, okay, we added this much more detail. Is that enough to get this through as non-generic or not lacks originality is what they said. I guess I think it's a frivolous thing for them, but I don't think the lawsuit is necessarily frivolous because I think, Nick, when you and I played this game together, we both were like, kind of look like Pokemon, kind of reminds me of Pokemon, except for, then we started capturing them. When you capture them by beating the ever living crap out of them. But you kind of do in Pokemon, in regular Pokemon, right? You stick other Poke creatures against them and, other Pokemons against them. And then you weaken them and capture them. And this one, you just beat them over the head with a stick or shoot them with a gun or whatever, to weaken them. And then you capture them, percentage chance of capturing them. And then they have bosses, which I consider the bosses will be the bigger gyms, is what you would consider those to be. But you had bosses. So I don't necessarily know if I think that the lawsuit is frivolous. I think that the patents are frivolous and they're not in good faith, in my opinion. What do you think, Nick? What do you think about this whole Japan saying, no, this patent lacks originality. You can't patent that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that I think Nintendo's a couple. They're just little bitches, basically, about everything. So, I would agree. I think the patent's way too broad, and you can't patent. You could, I guess, but it's going to be really difficult for them to patent something like just a process. People have tried to patent various things, but they're too broad, right? In order for you to patent that type of thing. And I think there's a lot of games that utilize monster capturing. It's not just Palworld and it's not just Pokemon. Like Digimon has monster capturing and Dragon Quest Monsters has monster capturing, and
Final Fantasy, for God's sake.
Fantasy
they've been doing
monster
that for decades.
Yeah,
WoW has creature capturing when you think about it with the whole pet battling system.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of games that utilize that type of functionality. Now, how you catch the creatures is different, for every game. But yeah, that idea is just, it's not new and it's not Nintendo's, right? And I'm sure even before Nintendo and Pokemon, I'm sure there were games that had that mechanic or had some sort of mechanic like that. Maybe not as fleshed out as Pokemon potentially, or became as popular as Pokemon, but I bet there were stuff like that before then. So, again, it's like the other thing too with Nintendo is, I think they're little bitches and they're kind of butthurt, right? Because
careful, they might hear you and break your console.
I'm sure they will. People have been wanting a really good open world Pokemon game, something very similar to what Palworld did, right? Where you could just open world, go out, capture Pokemon and stuff like that. And Nintendo with Game Freak has always dragged their feet on that type of concept. And then you had a company like the people that make Palworld come out and make a game that was right in line with what people wanted, right? Not necessarily with the guns and stuff like that, but it was right in line with very similar to what people wanted Pokemon to be. So I think it's just butthurt that Nintendo, especially with Game Freak, they don't seem to want to take any chances with their franchise or broaden it in any sort of way. I mean, if you think about every Pokemon game, they're usually pretty decent games for the most part, but every Pokemon game that comes out is very similar to the last Pokemon game, right? I think the only one that was kind of different was the Arctic or Arctis or whatever, that one. But like, Pokemon, the newest one, XY or ABCD or whatever that one is, that just came out here recently, it's getting pretty good reviews and stuff like that. But I think it's very similar to most Pokemon games, right? In that same vein. So a lot of these games are very similar to the last. And I think people are just looking for something different. But I think with these patents and everything, I don't know. It's just Nintendo is very, I know they want to protect their IPs. I understand that. But on the other sense, they're all also little baby bitches about everything. So at one point, I understand.
Better watch out, Nick. They're so happy they'll come after you.
I know.
Oh yeah.
On one hand, I understand they want to protect their shit, but then the other hand, it's like, come on, seriously, stop crying over spilt milk. Stop crying in the corner. Grow some balls and just be happy that you are Nintendo. You make a shit ton of money. Even if someone somewhat copies your idea, if you come out with a similar game, people are going to buy that instead of the copy, right? You're Nintendo. You have so much name recognition. It doesn't fucking matter what anybody else fucking does. So, get off your high horse, get off your soapbox, quit crying a river and balls up, and don't worry about every fucking little thing out there like mods and all this bullshit that they fucking go on after 24/7. Just stay in your own lane, Nintendo.
All right.
Yeah, they'll no longer be a video game company after a while, right? There's going to be a company of lawyers suing up.
Exactly.
Patents,
It was like sue happy. Yeah. It's like just geez.
So this article definitely hit Nick's pokey nerve. So
I actually was looking into it too before we started doing this, and actually they weren't the first to do creature capturing and with capsules and things. It looks like the very first time that appeared in something was the Shin Megami Tensei series. And then they did it before them, and then it looked like Dragon Quest IV had a creature capture thing in there, and then also the Ultraman franchise and another game called RoboTrek was doing it before Nintendo was doing it in their games. And it's like, okay, so in my opinion, you can't patent that, but it's like you can patent anything you want as long as you beat the other people to it. It almost seems like even if they did it before you.
Nintendo's like the bully, It's like they slapped the kid that made something or did something, and they're like, it's mine now. And I wanted to take all the recognition for it. I did this. I was like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, because I guarantee if Nintendo took Palworld's formula and made their own games, gamers would probably flock to that. Correct?
Of course.
I mean, it sounds kind of cool.
It would blow Palworld out of the water, right? If they took what Palworld made and said, fine, we're just going to make our same thing, but without the guns and stuff like that, more PG.
Oh, no. Pikachu with an RPG.
No, could you imagine Pikachu running your shop because he's an electric type? You're like, all right, I need you to run this mechanical stuff, and you assign a Pikachu over to do that, and you're like, okay, I need a Snorlax to do this and whatever to do that.
Exactly, and then being able to, I mean, people, they would love to be able to be in that world of Palworld, but in the actual Pokemon universe. And Nintendo could just do that, but they don't want to. They'd rather keep making the shit they always make. And cry in a corner and sue everybody.
Yeah, they just have to, like Shane, like you said, take out a couple of things. You can't have Pokemon with guns. You can't slaughter Pokemon for meat,
Right.
Okay.
They turn it PG, but other than that, I mean.
Screw that. I want to see Pikachu just go up to a Charmander and rip it in half and just devour it and make a steak.
And then you just play
That's why you're going to play Palworld then. That way you can look at the little, I can't remember what it's called, like a Beegis or whatever. I don't remember what it's called.
I want to see
the adult version
do it to each other.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Just like I want to see a Digimon just go around and start deleting each other with hammers. I'm a little macabre. I don't know.
They give the virus to the other one. Because they're digital, right?
You got digital aids. So But no, Nintendo, like you said, though, Pat, they are going to be just lawyers. Here at Nintendo, we stopped making games 10 years ago, but our lawsuits haven't stopped since.
We make 2 games a year.
Yep.
I gotta leave it. The rest of the time, our lawyers are our lawyers are also developers. So.
Exactly.
They use Chat GPT to create our games for us, and when they're not doing that, they're using Chat GPT to sue the pants off anybody they can find.
Yep, that's why Nick's next. They're gonna go back there and take all your amiibos.
We patented calling somebody a crybaby, little crybaby. You can't do that.
Baby crybaby bitch. I believe that was your terminology.
That's patent. You can't do
That's
that.
patent now.
I'm going to patent. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to patent how you mount a real life horse. Anybody who puts one leg in the stirrup and swings the other one over.
And he's not talking about riding it.
Just straight mountain.
Anytime somebody gets on a horse that way, they got to pay me.
That's right.
So stupid. It's so stupid, right? I mean,
yep, I'm going to patent every time somebody uses a vowel, I get $1. So no, Nintendo is just like Nick said, though, protect your IPs, of course. And is Palworld ripping off aspects of Pokemon? Fuck yeah. I mean, some of those creatures are definitely a little, a couple of inbred Pikachus, putting together. This is what they popped out. So it's obvious, but there's so many things that Nintendo is just full of shit on. Yep. It's ridiculous. Every game company before them should be suing Nintendo. Final Fantasy, Megami Tensei, start suing Nintendo. You sons of bitch. I think Nintendo owns Megami Tensei, don't they?
I think it's Sega.
Is that Sega?
So.
Okay. So, but yeah, anyways, it's Nintendo is Nintendo, and they're getting out of hand with some of these lawsuits. I mean, they're suing anything and everything, and it's just too much. It's just too much bullshit on their end. I hope these patents get declined. I hope they get sued for just trying to make things just so stupid and just go their way. So, but I think we've made it to the end. I think Nick's pissed off just enough to get some good gaming in later. But let us know in the comments below. Do you think Nintendo has gone too far? Do you think Nintendo's lawsuits are just beyond understandable anymore? Or do you think, they have every right for these types of patents and their right to be able to have them? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, notifications, all the good buttons. And until next time, see ya.